Chao's News Network, your place for all the information and news on Sonic Forces Speed Battle. Today I have with me Asterio, and
How's it going, everyone? Oh, my bad. Go ahead, start.
It's alright. I'm also going to have Zaydon come in here, but he'll be here shortly. In the meantime, today we've got a few topics to talk about, including some of the new tracks that have come out regarding Reverse, so we'll get to those later on. But first, how about we talk about our character of the week that we decided on? I'm sure you guys got a little hint on it last stream.
We don't. Who would that be? Who's the character of the week?
That would be Big. So, Big he's basically a fat cat from the Sonic universe, but he's pretty good. I don't know how to put it in words on how to describe him the best way, because I haven't actually played as Big in other Sonic games before, but I'm sure Asterio here has some idea.
Yeah, I have a couple of things that I'd be willing to share regarding the character, since there's a whole bunch of technical things that you need to understand about playing as him, and a lot of misconceptions that most players may come to think regarding his projectiles or regarding his lily pad traps. But I'll be here to kind of delineate every single detail about his move and give you guys a really, really good insight on how the character really works.
Yep, and it seems like Zaydon decided to show up. Hold on, he's muted right now.
No, Zaydon's here. He's most likely going to be relaying me some of his information through DM, so he'll be here though.
Yep, he'll definitely be. Hey Zaydon!
What's going on,
What's
Zaydon?
up?
Not much. Just rushed over here.
I know. No need to rush, man. Anyway, so, first things first. Big has a very good stat spread. He's got 7, 7, 10, and he's just like Zavik, a tank, but it's pretty balanced for a character with that stat spread, don't you think?
I would say so. I mean, he does, originally when he first came out, he had a really, really good setup, especially with his Chomper Chomps, his fish. Now, what sucked about the character in the beginning is how slow his projectile was, but when I used the character and I used his actual projectiles, I learned that it's a lot better that they're slower, since most players will end up running into them, especially when they're going through triple boost pads or when they're going through the speeding lanes. Now, I used to think that was a really, really good thing that they did until they updated it, which they increased the speed as well as the damage. The damage increase was actually really neat. But as far as the speed boost goes, it's still nice, but you're not going to really see players run into them anymore as they used to in previous updates.
Yeah, I know Chopper Chomp has tornado properties, but its damage is pretty high.
Yeah, and what's really cool about the damage is that it'll actually put any player into a complete stop for about a full second and a half, which is really, really nice. It's
now,
pretty deadly, so you
isn't
don't want to
that
get hit by
kind of
them.
broke?
Yeah, it's a bit busted, but I mean, considering the character, what he has, I mean, granted his boost is really, really long lasting. Speaking of his boost, there is something that I kind of do want to talk about regarding his boost, because there's a common misconception that I've been seeing along in the official server regarding his boost.
Is it regarding just how? Is it the duration, or is
it has
just
to do
the
with the
damage?
speed. It has to do with both speed, duration, and damage. So the damage, more or less, is about as strong as getting hit by a wind boost. So it's not that powerful. The most notable thing about his umbrella boost, aside from his duration, is how wide the hitbox is, especially from behind. If there are players running from behind you and run into you, they're going to end up getting hit by it first, usually for the most part. Unless, of course, the player is smart enough to switch lanes and immediately jump into Big's umbrella. But if you're running from behind him and go straight ahead, you're going to get hit by it. Now, what's really neat about his boost is that of course, how long it lasts, but a lot of players have been kind of debating whether or not it's faster than ordinary boosts, which I'll tell you guys right now it isn't. It's probably the slowest boost currently right now in the game, second to invincibility, which I don't necessarily classify as a boost since you're really getting only a slight speed boost, of course, and being invincible in it. But as far as like his boost goes, it's probably as fast as like slightly slower than an ice boost, but you also have to take account for player level too, because that does matter with how fast your character does go.
As for
But,
duration,
mhm.
it lasts pretty long. It's almost like the same duration as an ice boost, almost. But
Yeah.
it feel now. As for speed, like sometimes I feel like it makes you go fast, other times it doesn't.
When you're
It's kinda
using the
weird.
boost, and this is from me watching other players use the boost, you don't really get that wide of a gap from first to the player behind you, considering your speed is only that faster than invincibility, so you're not going to get that much leverage from like a fire boost, considering fire boost is definitely the fastest boost in the game. But as far as the boost goes in, what sucks about boosting in general is just of how high you jump, since you initially start off with your
Alright.
normal running speed going straight up and down, whereas when you're boosting, you're up in a curve. So it's a lot more difficult to jump over certain obstacles, especially when you're going through turnarounds, like in Splash Highway or in Redgate Ruins. There's certain spots where you're going to have to time your jumping at the very ending of a lane and then the very back. There's certain instances where that'll happen, which kind of sucks, but in a way it happens to every character, so it's not necessarily solely
Yeah.
on Big. But because of how large his hurt box is, I feel like it's much easier for him to get hit by just running into obstacles while trying to jump over them. But that's just the character itself. He's a pretty large hitbox. It's pretty big.
I mean, he is a big cat, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Not as big as well, no, he's pretty big.
Yeah, he's pretty
Yeah.
darn big.
All right. Anyway, so as far as his other move, his Lily Trap, that one is actually a very interesting move, an interesting trap, considering a lot of players. Most players know it by now since I've already discussed it in a couple of other servers, but there is a pattern on how they work. And
Alright.
those patterns are based on the stage that you're in. So normally when I first started playing him, I had no idea that I always thought it was just random. Like no matter where you are, no matter where you place them, they're gonna randomly pop up. They can either pop up on you on the same lane. But I learned over time that the first thing that I learned with the lily pads is that when you're on a lane, it will never go on the same lane that you're on when you activate the trap, so long as you stay in that same lane. Now, it'll activate after the water jet finishes up within about a second within about half a second. Then it'll switch lanes in. But when you initially start it, it will never go and trap you if you're on the same lane, unless of course you're in the middle of switching a lane, which then it'll take the last lane that you were in before you move into the next one.
Yeah,
Now-
I remember how, like, just a few times playing Big just for missions, you'd actually do a few setups with that. And actually,
Yeah,
just you
back
can literally
then,
trap. You can
Yeah.
get free traps on, I believe, Celestial Skyway on the
Oh, yeah.
singles. That
The
felt kind of
best-
broke.
I'm gonna say the best lily trap placement is definitely in Pinnacle Peaks, because lane 2 will automatically cover the ending lanes, lane 1 and 4, and lane 1 will cover the middle lanes 2 and 3. Now, what's really neat about that is if you're in the middle of a rail, there's a certain instance before you hit the final stretch where you can get about 3 or 4 item drops in. You can place those on lane 1 and you can actually cover the middle lanes, which makes it much more difficult for players to get through, since they're going to automatically switch into the ending lanes 1 and 4. Now, more into his lily traps, if you want to show an image of some of the notes that I've gathered, and you can go for it, that way they can understand exactly what I'm talking about with how lily placements work and how they're stage based. If you want to show them that actually would be great. That way I can get in more detail on the certain stages.
But in general, I feel like lily pads, they're consistent, but they're based on the character themselves with their placement, correct?
How do you mean?
Like if you start in, let's say, the left middle lane and you pop
Mm-hmm.
lily traps, it'll spawn 4 lily traps, and I believe, if I'm correct, the water will start at 1 and 3.
Yeah, so and that depends on the stage that you're in. So if you're in lane 2 and the lily trap placement starts on lanes 1 and 3, for example, I'm going to say Splash Highway does that one if you're in lane 2. It'll initially, before the lily traps even pop up, before the water even sprouts, there is a certain hitbox that'll actually be active before the water jet sprouts up in the beginning, and it's just simple. It's simple frame trapping. It's pretty neat, especially if there's a player that's in front of you and they barely even touch it. If they're like just behind it, as soon as they get hit by that, you can instantly trap someone the moment you deploy the trap in, since it'll still covers lanes 1 and if lanes 2 and 3 are active, which is pretty neat. So
Now,
you're
maybe-
bound to hit plenty of people.
Now, before you continue on, can you maybe explain that in more detail? Because I'm sure some
you wanna
people
know
don't
why?
get it.
You want to know why players still get hit in lily traps the moment they deploy them, right? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, that's what.
So-
That's why I'm sure most people are wondering.
Okay. A lot of people, I'm assuming, have been hit by it. I've been hit by it myself too, and it's
It
pretty
sucks.
frustrating because one, there's no water that's sprouting up, and you're wondering why you're getting hit by it. Well, the reason why is because the water jets initially sprout on the opposite lanes that they're supposed to sprout in, and this is
Ah,
It's
shoot.
maybe about half a second until you see the beginning water start sprouting up from the initial lanes that they're supposed to be on. So you're gonna see you're gonna still see, like, think about it this way: if they're active, pretend they're already active on. Pretend there's already water sprouting up on these spots that they're not supposed to be in yet until they actually switch in. So it's just simple frame trapping, and their initial starting point is actually where the player is standing and the other lane that the water sprouts in. So you're gonna see a lot of that. Like I said, if you show an image on the stream, I can actually show the
Yeah.
other players.
I believe this is what you showed me before, and actually helped me understand a bit more. These 2 papers right here, I believe they're notes that you wrote down, right?
Yeah,
They might be a little
so-
hard to see, but I think we can still see them pretty well.
Yeah. If anything, if there's someone I'd like to thank, as far as how I was able to get this research in, I actually want to thank Zadon for it, since I was the one to kind of disclose this information first in, and he was kind of the one to corroborate that info for me, since this was all simple hypothesis. I initially started off thinking that these trap placements were consistent for every single stage. I initially had one paper saying, okay, so if I'm on this lane, the trap is going to be here, here, and the next ones are going to be here and here. I initially started thinking that with one of the first papers that I had, which was my rough draft. Later on, as I played another stage, I noticed that it was a completely different pattern, and then I kind of had to guess that maybe it's stage based, which, as you can see on the images to the left and right, you can actually see that the lily pads are in a specific pattern. For example, in
Oh, I
Sandy
see.
Hills, on the very, very top left of the image, in the first one, Sandy Hills, if you're in lane 1, lily traps will spawn on lanes 3 and 4. Now, if the player who's deploying the lily trap is still in lane 1, and if you are ahead of the player who's going to deploy them, if you're in lanes 1 and 2 and Big decides to deploy them, you're going to get hit by them if you run into them at the moment he deploys them. What you should be doing is you should be on lanes 3 and 4 if you're ahead of
Music
him.
just buffered
That
out.
way you don't get hit by the initial starting frames, lanes 1 and 2, since that's where they're initially active until they actually spawn in lanes 3 and 4. And of course, same thing applies with lane 2. It'll also be the same one. You're gonna see them in lanes 3 and 4 again. Lane 3 is lanes 1 and 4, and lane 4 is lanes 2 and 3. Now, if you're playing as big, most big players, for example, me, I usually like using the traps. I usually like using traps lane 3 and 4, since I'm able to get players in from the lanes 1 and 4, and if I'm ahead of them in first place, and if I'm pretty far ahead of the other players, I usually always will stay in lane 3, because once those traps are done, they're gonna switch back into lanes 2 and 3, and those are the lanes that most players are usually always in. So it's a pretty nasty, deadly thing. But as you can see
Yeah.
on all of these images, some of them are incomplete. As you can see, there's kind of some empty spaces that I was kind of working on, since I'm still working on it. But the best one, I don't have it on here, but it's Pinnacle Peaks. Pinnacle Peaks is like probably the best lily trap placement that you'll see on there.
What's
Just
that
because
like?
of so lanes 1, if you're in lane 1 and you deploy the trap, it'll cover lanes 2 and 3. If you are in lane 2,
Oh,
it'll
that
cover
is-
lanes 1 and 4. If you're in lane 3, it'll cover lanes 2 and 4, and if you're in lane 4, it'll cover lanes 1 and 2. So it's pretty nasty. It's pretty deadly.
That's ridiculous.
And as far as how far, like, so the initial starting point of when you're deploying a lily trap, the distance between the player and the lily trap, it's the furthest compared to all the trap placements that are in E-mines, tornadoes, and ice mines, of course. It's about maybe 1.5 times further than an initial starting point of a trap. Now, there's an image that I had. I don't know if I sent it to you, but it
Give me one
shows
second,
exactly when.
because I think you sent it to me. I just
Yeah.
haven't. I just haven't added it yet because I
So-
was actually getting around with that. But continue.
Okay. So on the image that you'll be about to see from Ultima, he's gonna actually show a screenshot that I posted regarding where my position was and where the lily traps will be. And I kind of use the item switches that will give you items as my starting point, since I was initially there and I deployed the lilies right on the item switches. So that's where you'll see them. So once the image pops up, I'll kind of delineate exactly how far the player is, since it's about, I think about 13 or I think it's 10 to 13 tiles in front of you. And this is from, I think the stage from Celestial Skyway. So
Yeah,
once the image
just-
shows in, I can count in for you guys and tell you
Yeah,
exactly.
just give me a second.
Yeah.
Uploading does
Anyway,
not want to cooperate
Ultima-
with me. What's up?
What do you think about the whole character and as far as the lily traps goes? Do you have any like questions or concerns regarding it, or?
In regards to it, my main worry is the frame trap, because that literally will destroy you, no matter what. Like the damage against the damage on lilies, I think we can get around it, but at the same time, if the person is actually like, if you know the exact distance and everything, it gets pretty annoying.
So I kind of want to go back to what one of the chat members said in stream from that one crazy. They're saying that it's impossible to dodge 2 lily pads if the sprout at the same time in 2 lanes.
I believe
So
you
if
can
you're-
actually.
You can, yes. There is a way. Honestly, lily traps are one of the easiest traps to perfect dodge. You're actually able to go between them if you time it just right. Just the only thing is, if the lily trap spawns late, like
Okay,
if
there
they're in
it
its
is.
late state, it'll switch in and then you'll most likely fall and get into the other spot in the other lanes. But no, it is possible. It's just a little bit difficult, but it's one of the easiest traps to kind of perfect dodge in if you're switching lanes. You just have to know the timing on it.
Also,
as
this
far
is the picture, just in case you
yes.
guys were wondering. I just managed to
So-
get it to upload because it, for some reason, net is being weird today.
So if we look at the image, and if you look at the very bottom section of where Big's feet are, they line up against the bottom part of the second tile. If you count those tiles in, that translates to about 9-ish tiles, since the ending one is all the way over there, and that's where the item switches are. So you're probably going to get about like 9 to 11 tiles worth of distance from that. As far as tiles go and pixel measurements, I haven't exactly done the official pixel measurements in, so I can't give you an exact distance. But just know that if you are in any stages like in Splash Highway or in Pinnacle Peaks, that you can use the tiles as your advantage, since they are about 11 tiles ahead of you once you deploy them in.
Yeah.
And of course, so yeah, that's one of the images that I wanted to show you. I kind of used my leverage on where exactly I can place them in. I'll definitely be able to get in touch with the exact distance between the player to the lily pad. That way I can give you guys an exact measurement of where exactly it'll be placed. How
Yeah.
far it'll be.
I know we've had Asterio here talking his mouth off a little bit, but
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry about that, man.
he's pretty avid about big, right?
I guess you can say that. I mean, ever since Wave came out, Wave's honestly been a really, really neat character, especially their boost, since it's one of the most
Yeah.
unique ones.
We'll get to that
and
in
one
a
of the
bit.
most.
We'll get to Wave in a bit, because boy, do I have things about Wave to talk about.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. There's definitely a lot.
But
Anyway, so
I
I guess we can move on to the next topic, since I've already discussed everything that I needed.
Sorry.
The span of 20 minutes.
yeah.
So I guess our next topic would probably be the new tracks, right?
Yeah. Okay. So all this away. New track. So let's see here. I believe it was Celestial Skyway R is what they called it. And
Yes. That was,
there was Celestial Skyway, and the other one wasn't Sandy Hills. Was it Pyramid?
Pyramid Valley, yeah. It was
Pyramid Valley R, yeah. So I got to experience that for a bit ever since the patch dropped. And I'm kind of here and there in terms of just how they did the track. But it's basically just you running from the back end of the track where you actually finish in the original. And I want to say that it's kind of because you're actually... It's like you're running the same course but backwards, is what I'm trying to say. And I know,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know, like, oh, but what, they moved this and that around, but it just doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah,
in terms of
it's
content.
It's a bit harder to adapt to. I mean, of course, their notable differences was the item placements on where those are placed in, and of course, a couple of other things and tidbits that are in and around there. But really, like, I think the one frustrating track would probably be the Pyramid Valley one, just because there's spots where you have to switch lanes in, and you kind of have to rely on you know how you initially had muscle memory for those two stages.
Oh yeah,
It's too new, so
here's funny
yeah.
thing. First time I ran Pyramid Valley, I did it perfect. It's that easy for me.
yeah.
But Celestial Skyway, it was kind of trippy going on the back because I actually had to change around how I was thinking. Like, there are just different jumps that you have to do for Celestial Skyway when running reverse.
Yeah.
That it actually has to affect your game plan whenever you're in first. Because it gets kind of trippy near the end of that.
Oh yeah, because
there's
really
no
no,
obstacles.
yeah, there's no obstacles. All you got to rely on is your own wit and hoping
Spam.
that no one is going to sandbag right behind you,
Spam.
or hoping that no one's going to get hit with an item. Now, there are no item blocks that are around there either, which is kind of
No.
interesting. There's just an entire straightaway that's curved around, and it's pretty much anyone's fair game at that point. If anyone has any items saved in and they use like a fireball or even like an ice wave, then you're pretty much screwed from there unless you're
Well,
unless
Ice Wave
you're
wouldn't
lucky.
necessarily stop you, but
Yeah, it won't stop you, but you'll still get slowed down. And if the player is like nearby you and they use it, then
Yeah,
you're gonna definitely slow down
basically.
from there.
But like, I think like the design for Celestial Skyway I don't like. I don't like them. I don't like it the most. It's pretty similar to Tangled Tunnels in that aspect, because
Yeah,
if it's that
Or
open,
even-
there's an issue.
yeah,
And
or
you-
even Dash Vegas. Like that's another.
I'm
one too, like,
actually,
even-
I actually want to say Dash Vegas is somewhat okay here and
It
there.
is. It's just the final stretch after the triple boost is a little bit long.
Yeah,
and,
you
I
have to
mean-
do the Yeah, it's pretty much like the rest of Mystic Jungle stages. Where
Yeah.
Well, except for one that actually has dash pads, but
Yeah.
it's pretty awkward. It's like there's a running theme here when they're adding
Yeah, I
new
guess you
tracks.
can
It's
say.
just open end at the end and let items decide the winner. And like
Yeah, I guess you can say that.
maybe we could actually switch this up and make it some more obstacles at the end, so that you actually have to use your brain. Because
Oh yeah, I
like
definitely
there was the one Mystic Valley I liked.
Mm-hmm.
The one track you actually had to jump. Like if you're gonna take the middle two paths, the middle lanes, you actually had to jump over a pair of boxes properly on a curve.
Oh yeah.
And that was actually pretty hard when you're going full boost.
By the way, I kind of want to talk about something really quickly. It's kind of a bit off tangent, but it has to do with Dash Vegas. You know the palm trees that are right there in the very
Yeah.
middle lanes.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can run into them even if you're not in the same lane. If you're jumping over them. It's
I
kind of
think I
interesting.
remember that. I think I
Yeah.
remember that. It was very recent for me because
It's
it has to do with the arc of the track.
yeah,
Because it's very weird for me. I think it's when you're to the right of the tree because the hitbox feels
Yes.
a little larger.
yes. Now, what's kind of funny is that we talk about that now. It's because you're gonna run into a projectile, or not projectile, but you're gonna run into the palm tree because of just how that placement is. But that also kind of applies to like badniks that are in the air. You're able to
Yeah.
actually hit two at the same time if you're running in those lanes, and it's much easier just because of the positioning of those lanes and how tightened up they are. from
Yeah,
there.
that's why Mystic Jungle usually makes it easy to get double bag nicks. But we'll get into that later. But aside from the new tracks, I think what they need to do, in terms of tracks, is I want to see something new instead of
I know.
reversing everything.
Or maybe not necessarily something new, but a lot of the top players prefer the original stages that were in prior to the newer updates.
The
You know how the
extreme
original
stages.
placements were. Yeah, definitely.
I remember people talking about that.
Yeah. One stage that I definitely miss was Redgate Ruins, how it used to be. It was actually a much stage how it is now, and it was actually much more longer. They probably cut the stages like length maybe about like 25% of its initial stage, considering the ending. You would be on rails and you would see the actual finish line ahead of you, and you would actually swoop in and you go from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes on rails, and you finally make it to the end. It was a really, really fun stage, and it was actually one of the longest ones. It's kind of sad to see it go, but I would definitely say if Hardlight or the devs maybe consider bringing those stages back into the game, I feel like a lot of the higher level players are going to definitely love playing those stages, considering it's more of a nostalgic factor, and it's going to be a lot of new muscle memory that they're going to have to get back into again.
The other thing I think that like I think it'd be unique for other players who are in right now to see that kind of content, because
Oh yeah,
one, it actually introduced a higher difficulty, because weren't the EX stages a bit harder since there were more obstacles?
yeah, they were. But the thing was, they used to have extreme difficulties, and I know they removed those ones just because they kind of dumbed down the obstacles and made it much more, I guess you can say, casual friendly. And that was when their update came in, when they purged like every single sandbagger, and you couldn't get any boosts regardless of what position you were.
I
from
think
fourth place to
maybe
first.
this is just me thinking about it.
Okay.
I think maybe we should allow tier 9 to have the extremes.
That could work.
Because,
I mean, any
like, if you can hit tier 9 at least once, you get access to those tracks. And those would be, like, they can bring those tracks back and still have the usual tracks in rotation.
yeah, I can see that.
It'd be really unique to actually have a set rotation for EX, for your seasonal
Or-
EX track.
Or you know how they named like Pyramid Valley R and Celestial Skyway R? Like what they can do for those stages, like as far as bringing back the old stages, they can put, for example, like Mystic Jungle EX, or it could be like Splash Highway EX. Like, and those are like the original like stages that were initially put in before they actually like changed up the obstacles and items. Like
I know.
now, because for the most part, like.
Sorry.
My bad, it's okay. Because I was gonna say that for the most part, like a lot of the stages now are kind of weighed in towards items and pretty much just mindlessly using them to get in first.
Yeah,
And-
I don't like that
yeah.
kind of play style. It's basically
Yeah.
what we've evolved into
Yeah.
ever since like season 2, I believe.
But I guess you could say it's anyone's game now, since you have to just rely on not getting hit by projectiles and just dodging them,
Yeah.
unless you're unlucky and you're against shadows and you're rails, and there's no point in dodging if someone puts E-mines in front of you and thunderclouds too. Like that kind of thing is, but it's a lot of them too, which is a bit bothersome, as you can say.
And the amount of times I've gone oh no from dodging all the fireballs has been insane lately. It's
Oh man.
not fun. I just go, oh no. And
My
then-
biggest peeve would definitely be whirlwinds. Just first off, the audio cue on that thing is annoying. But if you're going up against like a Charmy and 2 silvers and they're just spamming 5 to 6 to 7 whirlwinds in front of you, granted you can dodge them since they're pretty slow and you can kind of know when they're gonna be, but you're gonna hear loud audio cues since those things will stack. It's pretty annoying, but it's kind of amusing to watch as they all pass by you. But at the same time, like you need to dodge like 7 or 8 different whirlwinds.
if they
that are
pace
coming in
those
from
out
each lane.
correctly
Annoying.
across lanes, it can almost be undodgeable.
Yeah.
But that's like
Yeah,
3
but it's-
different people
yeah,
trying to fight
it's
each
annoying.
other. So, could say it's a cluster fudge or something.
I guess you could say that.
Uh,
Do you have anything to add?
I wasn't paying attention much, but yeah, I just rejoined. I had to do something real quick.
that's
Oh,
fine.
you're good,
So
dude.
we're talking about the whirlwinds right now.
Yeah.
We're just
We're
talking
just-
about like
this is
the
on
amount
a
of
tangent next to tracks.
Right. Well, honestly, like the whirlwind thing, honestly, they're not a problem to me. Yeah, it's like slow, so it's gonna be easy to dodge. The only problem is if there's so much, it's hard to hear, so it's harder to whirling. But then you still have the warning indicator on the bottom of your screen that you can easily use to dodge the moves.
I wish they would actually. I wish they would do that for some of the other projectiles that we'll talk about further on. But in the meantime, how about we do our tech of the week? Because I
Which
think
would
it's that
be?
time again. This tech
Oh,
of the week
goodness.
is what I actually talked about earlier. It was hitting double badniks. Now, so I've got a treat for you guys today. Now, I actually managed to get my phone stream working. If I can pop it up. There we go. Okay. As you can
So,
see, I have Big up on the screen right now. But that's because he's character of the week today. I'm going to show you how to do the double badniks. Now, we've talked about hitboxes before and how they work on the Mystic Jungle tracks as well as Dash Vegas. But I'm gonna go ahead and run a couple so that you guys can get an idea of how this works, because sometimes it can be hard to do depending on your speed.
Okay, so you mean to tell me that you actually figured out how to time the double things correctly and actually hit both badniks per lane?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I
Alrighty,
know I
let's
might be
take
taking a
look and
few
see how it
hits here,
works.
but I'm actually on
No worries, we
Mystic
all do.
Jungle track right now. Give or take.
Oh, so this will definitely be a perfect example to kind
Yeah.
of display how
Yes.
exactly that'll work.
Yeah, so when we get to a certain part of the track, you'll see you'll see how they're laid out. Cause you see how they were bunched together there, like that for a
Yeah.
minute. That's due to how the track is laid out. It's really easy to get double badniks that way.
I see.
Um, this actually isn't the prime track I was going for though. Also, sorry if it's a little slow on that end,
Oh, no
but
worries. It actually provides a good visual to kind of show exactly how you're gonna
stupid
be
ads.
managing to hit them in.
Stupid ads. But yeah, even if it's slow mo, it's the best I can get for right now. I'm going to try and get a different track because I want to be able to showcase the how you do it on like a flat plane because
Okay.
to do it on a flat plane, it has to be a very fast lane switch while
Yeah,
you're in
and you
the
have to get
air.
it just when you're in between them. That way.
Just it's Dash Vegas. What is all the Mystic Jungle? Anyway, this just gives us more like Dash. Actually, Dash Vegas is a lot better example for
Yeah.
how
It
hitboxes
it's
work.
yeah, and it's the easiest stage to kind of show the example in, so most players can understand how it works.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, as you just saw there, I knocked out both those badniks at once. That's because their hitboxes were actually grouped together due to how the layout is. And you just noticed I canceled an ice wave. Rope, not an ice wave. An ice mine there. That's only
Mhm.
because of jumping, and
Yeah.
it
You
has a
have to be
lot of weird
slightly in the
things.
air. Yeah. You
Yeah,
have to
it's
slightly
pretty
be in
bad.
the air when you're falling down, that way the actual ice can, actually you'll still be active and you'll still be
So
slowed down by it, but you can still move around getting hit
yeah.
by it.
Also, I'm thinking a little bit of lag here. Pretty bad. Because I'm not picking up item boxes and stuff is going around.
Do you guys find it easier doing the ones on the ground or the ones in the air?
The ones on the ground are very hard because, for one, they actually have a tangible hitbox.
Yeah. That and when you're sliding, you actually switch lanes slower, which I guess you could say is
Yeah.
pretty decent advantage since you cover more leverage in the middle lanes. But when you're in the air, you can go from lane to the second lane in jumping. And that actually can be applied when you're on rails. Since whenever you're changing lanes while you're sliding, it takes a while because you jump in. But if you actually jump in the air and kind of move your thumb in an L shape to your next lane, you can actually slide down and immediately stomp into the next rail without having to do the jumping
What is
animation
with
when you're
all the
switching lanes.
Mystic Jungle tracks? God help me. But trust me, this is just Mystic Drone trying to get the other tracks. Freaking shadow on this one. It's Tangled Tunnels, by the way. This is actually the best example because I'm gonna go right in this lane and boom, both Badniks dead. And I know like it may be lagging up there on that other part because the mirror
Mhm.
for some reason is wanting to lag here. It's like a good bit behind. But this is real. I promise you, this is the best I can get. Not gonna lie. Um. Also, there's some weird things with the thundercloud on this track. Like I feel like I actually ran through a thundercloud with
Mhm.
umbrella boost.
Yeah, I have that too. Like, I just tend to go
It's
through.
kind of
Sometimes it
weird.
only happens some. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be a boost. I can just sometimes go through it like without having anything, and
It'll
sometimes.
usually happen when players hit the same thundercloud as you're in. So if a player
Oh,
gets hit by it, it
I see.
kind of becomes the
Yeah,
hitbox will actually become inactive for a couple seconds before it reactivates in for the clouds. That way you can essentially go through them.
I'm gonna give the mirror a second. So I'm gonna try one more time for one of those tracks and see if I can actually get it. But if I can't,
Sure.
then I guess I can't. Come on,
It's okay.
give me the track. Also, this thing's actually a good race behind, so you'll have to give it a minute to buffer. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Uh, Oh, I just okay. This is actually good. I got Viaduct Valley, so I'll actually be able to showcase this after the thing catches up. I'm sorry this is slow, but this is kind of the best I can get for the time being.
That's totally fine. Don't worry about it. It still provides a good way to kind of visualize what we need to answer.
All right, so like it's almost like a frame perfect trick when trying to go for it. Just so you guys know. Uh, sorry, just trying to avoid this SBO. But it's a frame perfect trick that you can learn over just a lot of practice with it.
Okay.
Um, should be I think there's only like one set on Viaduct Valley. I can't remember. Oh wait, no, there's this set. I could try and go for this. I was too early. You have to do it at the right timing, otherwise you're just gonna miss the other badnik outright. Like there are a few instances I'll tell you where
Okay.
I might be able to. No, there's only one right here. I think better places to practice on are like Celestial Skyway, since that has a lot of double badniks, and some of the other tracks that are like that.
Hmm. If you like, I'm sure you're able to cover this your recording later on in the future. That way, you kind of capitalize on exactly what
I'll
you'd like to show.
probably get Typho to help me out with that because
Sure.
I can just record it later, and hopefully I can elaborate
If not,
more on this later.
sure. If not, I can always do it myself too, and kind of show that for you
Yeah.
as well.
I'm sorry this wasn't exactly the best
Oh, no
demonstration, but
worries. I
I
feel
try
like
to
it.
give an idea.
No, it's still good because you're actually still testing this out and showing the are on the stream to kind of show and capitalize on. So you're
Yeah.
good.
But it varies by track and what other people are trying to do to you cuz I think like there's I think there's cream. She could probably screw you up if you're trying to go for a batnik or double batnik sometimes. But it's usually worth it because you get 10 rings in one go. And normally you would only get 5.
See? Alrighty. Well, after this
So,
next run, I feel like we should definitely talk about our next topic. That way we can stay on
yeah.
track with our next
Now,
situations.
here's a funny thing. I'm
Hmm?
actually not running right now, but the whole thing is still trying to run. So I'm just gonna
I
go
see.
off of like that's what see that there? I just tried to get that, but I actually
Okay.
was a little early. You have to be pretty on point when doing that if you're going to go for double badniks. But it is a very viable strategy that people can abuse. Um, I know my big play isn't that good here, but I try.
Oh no, you're fine. You're playing just fine.
Uh, I'm just I just try to run for the sake of the stream anyway. Um, so yeah, most of this track, I think there's only two sets of double badniks here, so there's just a lot of rings on the red gate tracks instead of badniks. I think the
Mm.
track with the most badniks is like the most double badniks is somewhere along okay, I went for it there again, but I actually didn't hit the first one that with the lane I was in. But that's kind of a general overview of how this can work. It just takes practice and consistency. And even then it's still kind of hard to pull off just because of having to swap lanes and whatnot.
Hmm.
Because it's pretty stingy, similar to how you grab item boxes, along with what we talked about on the last stream, grabbing item
Yes.
boxes and going into speed pads.
Yes.
Now I know like this was like a long tech demonstration, but
Hmm.
I mean, this is just my first time working with this. I'm gonna see what else I can do to try and
Yeah, of course.
make this a better demonstration. I'll probably get with Typho, but anyway, hold on. Did the music just crap out again? Why is the music crapping out today? I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing what I can here, but sometimes net is weird. Trust me. Oh, I think I know why it lagged now. I didn't
What
have the.
happened?
I had the mirror in the background and not
Well, that
focus.
could have probably been the reason, but that's totally fine.
I'm
Since
sorry.
you want to be done with it, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Anything we can I guess we could start discussing the next topic.
Yep.
Since we still
Let's go
haven't
ahead
covered
and
Wave,
start
the
up the
character
next
new
topic.
release.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So,
So-
Wave. Let's go ahead and talk about that because
Wait, what level is your guys' wave right now?
I'm currently at a
0.
level. Mine's at a level 3. So I
I've
can kind
seen
of give you
level
leverage.
5
Mine's at level-
waves.
Mine's at level 5 right now.
Okay. So would you like to give us some information regarding the character?
Yeah, can you
Okay,
please?
so I haven't used her yet just because I literally unlocked her yesterday and managed to get enough silver chests with her to get to level 10.
Okay.
But from what I've definitely watched videos and gameplay over what Wave can do, she definitely has is it Whirlwind or is it
She
Tornado?
has
Like, I always get
Whirlwind.
the-
She has Whirlwind, Tornado,
Whirlwind.
and then Wrench Rush.
Well, Whirlwind,
one of
Wrench
them's
Rush, and
E-Mine.
E-Mine, which is kind of an oddball combo. if you
Yeah,
ask
I
me.
found
Okay.
that item set kind of weird, but like
It makes
her
sense.
projectile's not really that effective. It's good at the beginning, but like after that, it's not too good. Then
Yeah.
her E-mines are definitely good as long as she could maintain a bit ahead in the race. And then we have her boost, which if I recall correctly, hits around her. Her hitbox hits around her. I'm not sure if it hits how much it hits in front
So
and behind.
what'll happen is the actual hitbox of the wrenches increase and decrease in size at a predominant time. It starts off by increasing towards the beginning and it slowly decreases in until the boost ends. That can cover from lanes 1 into the 2 lanes near you. So it'll cover the lanes left and right of you while they're extending in. But as they decrease in size, it only covers in one.
Yeah,
As far as that goes, the beast is pretty.
the weird, like, the one thing I kind of don't like about Wrench Rush, and I think this is what a lot of people have been complaining about,
Mhm.
is the fact that it actually is a 3-lane rush. And
Yeah, it
it's
can be.
it's it's pretty annoying because you can just have Wave run next to you while you're boosting, and
Now,
then you're dead.
now it's only a 3-lane rush. Remember, once the wrenches actually extend out and open themselves up in its hitbox while they're spinning around, they start off from entering only into 1 lane and they extend into 3 lanes within the middle of the boost, and then they slowly go back down in once the boost starts. That's what
Oh,
I noticed
okay.
about.
So
Yeah.
that's how it
So
goes.
from using that boost, that's pretty much what I kind of gathered in. As far as its speed, it's definitely one of the fastest boosts, considering its speed increase goes at an interval 2 per speed, so it actually is a really nice boost.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. I still don't think it's a good idea for a boost to be able to damage around because it's basically a worse bash in that sense because she can just run up into you and like mill during the mill duration of the boost.
Some players
You're just
wanted a
dead.
boost actually that had a trail, and I feel like that trail wouldn't be a necessarily good idea.
It's not. It's
So
not good.
I
We
I
don't
noticed
want
that.
Jet to happen again. And I feel like this might have been what happened again, in a sense, but not as bad. But
Yeah,
I
it's a
feel
pretty deadly
like
boost.
Wave has a lot of comparisons to make the Jet in this because she's got 967, and considering that Jet himself is 1055, I feel like I feel like she's more based off him than than just her own character in a sense. I mean, we have Jet who uses Wind Trap and also Wind Boost. You guys still here, by the way?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
here.
yeah, we're
Okay,
here.
it just went silent for a minute. Um, I it's it's just really weird to me that they try to make that comparison, but I guess they're trying to make references and everything. Because weren't they in Sonic Riders together?
Yeah, they were.
Anyway, what do you guys have in like regards to what Wave can look towards level 16? Because I actually don't have Wave unlocked yet. It's
If
because
Wave were to be level 16, well, even level 14, I feel like the boost would probably be very, very deadly, especially as far as how speed most likely go in. I feel like if it does get up into its level 3 state when it is maxed out for their boost, I feel like it'll probably maybe combat that of the fire boost since it is the fastest boost in the
yeah, and it's also one of the only boosts that gets faster as it gets stronger.
yes.
So it's kind of worrying that because there's also the fact that you can sandbag with Wave and just destroy the
Hmm.
competition.
Yeah. I noticed as I unlocked Wave, even level 1, I noticed that pretty possible to stay ahead in. And what's really interesting about Wave is that her animations aren't exactly I don't want to say complete, but they're pretty interesting. For some reason I find it much easier to kind of slip off of projectiles and slip away from E-mines or any other traps that are on there just because of how she moves. And if you notice
Mhm.
when she jumps, she doesn't make any audio cues when she jumps. The only audio cues that you hear are from when switching lanes and the slight noise that gets made when you're on your stopping or when you're on your ducking animation. It's pretty much the same as Big's animations. It has the same audio cues and it also is silent when jumping in the air as well.
I
Except
see.
with Wave, it seems like it's much more easier to slip away from enemy attacks from behind or
What's
from
her
front.
hitbox like?
Yeah,
Because that's what
her
I'm
hitbox
wondering.
is her hitbox is pretty small, which is why I noticed that it's pretty easy to kind of slip through enemies. Just I
If it
noticed that it was kind of small.
okay, that's where I might have a problem because her hitbox should be the same as Jet's.
Mhm.
Because I remember Jet having pretty much the same hitbox as everybody else. I don't know why Wave's hitbox is different to
Yeah,
allow her to
her
avoid.
box is definitely something that I kind of noticed. 'Cause I noticed that I was getting hit less and less
What
by
is
things that I
going on
normally
with the
should have gotten
music?
hit by. But yeah.
What is going on with the music? I'm sorry, guys. I really, really want to have music today, but for some reason, it's not wanting to do it for me. Let me fix something. Come on, work with me.
So, how do you think Wave's comparison to Jet, like as far as like her boost versus Jet Speciosan, what would you say would probably be the most deadliest in comparison to the two?
Bash. Because here's the thing he gets three of them. Not one,
Yeah.
not two, three. It's it's not fair. It's cancer.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Like Bash is definitely the more deadly one, especially firstly it's a projectile, so it's much more easy to obtain. Because a boost, you have to be behind the first place player by a certain
Mhm.
distance.
Yeah.
So by doing that, you're not. Chances are, unless you sandbag and like somehow could still maintain ahead in the race, like it's not even going to be that deadly anyways. So honestly, Bash is definitely more deadly, especially with its glitched hitbox in the back part of it.
Yeah,
It's still
So, yeah.
glitched, isn't it?
it is. I still think
So-
that it should still be tweaked in on its upgrades. I really don't feel like it's necessary for any player to have more than one But Shosen, I really feel like it
I
should have the same upgrades as that of a Fire World. Just because one, you're getting
mm,
one projectile that's really, really strong. There's no need to get 2 to 3 of them on
here's
there.
what I feel like they should do. I feel like we should actually upgrade on the trail. Like, have a base trail that's shorter than the current trail right now, and have that trail upgrade.
I feel like
it's-
maybe. Okay, I feel like it should be like this. The trail is fast and it gets forever after every up. Since players love to abuse them, the higher the level you are, the better. Since if the trail is faster to begin with, players are gonna wind up falling for it. Won't end up getting hit. Or just because
Okay, things are cutting
players like
out
to-
for some reason.
Yeah, I could hear the cutout too.
You okay,
Sorry.
Asterio?
Yeah, we're here. So what I was saying is that I feel like it should be the trail should definitely be tweaked in, but I feel like the speed of the attack should be increased. That way players don't start using them when they're in first place to kind of gain the advantage to stay ahead. I feel like if the speed of the attack is increased, it'll be people will be less prone to running into them. That way they'll be able to catch up to the character. That's all that I think should be upgraded.
One
just the
thing
speed.
that just a strategy against Bash for those that don't know. Respect the skateboard. Basically, don't be in the same lane as Jet. Unless you're in front of him, then just crap on his face.
You could
Right.
also use like a shield or crash into an obstacle while you're in its hitbox, and most times it'll tend to keep you. You'll basically be immune to it because technically you activated the hitbox, so that works too.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I think that with that done, we actually need to talk about this because it's kind of important to how speed battle should be balanced. I know I talked about balance the last stream, but I've had some time to dwell on some things and look at like all the characters in general, as well as the usefulness of certain things.
And what would that be?
Character stats. Basically their scorecard and how important it is along with their kit. Currently though, and it always has been this way since I think the beginning, is a speed meta. Because everybody wants to go fast. They want to go that 10 speed. And currently... Oh, dang it! Why does this stupid music keep coming? Ah, screw it. I'm just going to go on. If this
Go for it.
music isn't
Continue.
going to mess up, then I'll just go without
So
it.
you were suggesting that the meta is and always will be speed. Is that correct?
Currently, yes. Because outside like projectiles and the kit, we have to look at the hard numbers here and how they actually affect gameplay. Because look at how they've done their balance changes across the time. Like it's been more speed or more acceleration here and there. And some people have even gotten nerfs to certain things.
Like Silver, who got massive nerfs left and right each update.
It's no use. It's just no use. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, I mean, technically, if he's slower, it's easier to get boost. That's just from what I've seen. Like, I still, even though with his massive nerfs, I still see Silver like a lot of my races, which is still kind of
Yeah.
strange a little bit.
I think it's just people love Silver. Maybe.
Yeah, that, and they just want to preserve the character and know that maybe he could be used as the underdog per se, since he's one of the
Yeah.
least. He's one of the least noted as far as stats goes.
Yeah. But regardless, I think that there's a stat that can be worked on because we have speed for literally what it is. We have acceleration to help with like after we take damage or obstacles. But now we have we have a problem with strength. Like I've been thinking about how it factors into the game, but all I know is that it only factors with obstacle damage. And that's the type of damage you normally don't take unless you really have to. And it's something I'm wondering about is how they can actually factor strength more because it feels underused when you like at high level. At high level, you're more than likely not going to run into an obstacle unless you really have to, right, Asterio?
Yeah.
Because I know like that 10 string big, oh, I'm just going to tank this and keep moving along.
Yeah, you pretty much don't really lose that much speed. You probably lose like maybe only a quarter of your full speed, but that immediately gets bumped back up in once you
But
get
as
hit.
for, but like characters like Sonic, ever since he got the acceleration nerf, he doesn't have a lot of strength.
Yeah.
And that renders him pretty prone to getting hit. I can't speak. Uh, he he's rendered prone to like if he hits an obstacle, he's gonna lose all his speed. And I think strength should also be factored into actual damage taken from the projectiles and the traps and everything
Yeah,
because
I
we
agree.
have ridiculous damage with some of the items right now like fire boost,
Or
fireball,
you know what I really feel like should be a really good kind of thing is rubber banding. So
rubber
not
banding.
I know so most players like for example, I'll use Mario Kart as an
Oh my
some
god.
AI will be prone to be going faster if they're behind you. And I'm not going to be using speed as far as gaining the upper advantage. I'm talking about resistance. The further you are away from first place, you should be taking less like damage and less duration of of being stunned in. Because I feel like if all players like for example like have who have good strength in, and I know none of that applies to getting hit by a projectile. But if you're in fourth place and you get hit by an E mine, you're pretty much screwed from the rest of the stage. I really feel like maybe the devs should kind of give players who are the very behind a break and the players who are in front a slightly more or if not don't change the amount of damage that the player will take at that time but kind of decrease that damage to players who are behind in so they can kind of feel less and less, I guess, how can I say, dissuaded to reach in first place, unless, of course, there's sandbagging involved. But I
Hmm.
really feel like that would probably be a good kind of change in, or maybe something to test out and see how players like it to kind of, I guess, increase the amount of lower players and who want to kind of reach that top
We
end in
need
scale.
I mean it's just something that I feel has been lacking presence is all because there's no it feels like there's no substance to it aside from just getting hit by obstacles
Hmm.
cuz if it's just there for obstacles, what else is it going to apply to? Because we have speed, which applies to like everything in this game, because it's a racing game, and we have acceleration that applies to just you speeding back up after getting hit and just having to start from scratch. You know?
I really feel like there should be some sort of stage hazard for like aside from obstacles that are in your way, but like
Um.
some sort of thing that players can kind of use to interact with the stage to kind of gain themselves advantage aside from using items to boost them.
Now, that was actually suggested in the idea box a while back, but it didn't really get very good feedback considering the fact that I don't think people want to deal with big stage hazards that actually can interfere a lot with the race. Because if there's an exploitable speed, bleh, if there's an exploitable stage hazard, then it's not going to be fun for the rest of the people. You know?
Yeah, I can see.
So, regardless, it's just something to take into account for later on along the road. Um, anyway, I want to fix. I want to see if we can talk about some items today and get some stuff done
Sure.
because
What else do you have in mind?
uh, there's a lot of items that are they're extremely powerful and also borderline broken and then broken. So the extremely powerful items I want to start with are Fireball, E mines that everybody hates,
Hmm.
auto mines for like lava bombs. Chao NATO doesn't really go. I know it's an auto mine, but it really doesn't go on
Hmm.
this list because it doesn't do damage. It just stops you dead and then begins you to get accelerating
Yeah.
again. Um, Fire boost is the biggest offender of them all, and Chopper Chomp. It's a pretty big offender. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Well, because Chomper Chomp, it stops you for a whole second. Like you have a full second where you're standing still and you're not even going back into full speed. You're accelerating from 0 to your max speed.
Yeah,
So it's really, really deadly.
I
So
even
it's not
put
something you want to get hit.
I even put lily pads on this list because of how their interactions are, which we talked about today.
Yeah.
Um, Ice Wave, it's it's broken still. I'm
I can agree
surprised
with
they
that.
have. I'm surprised they haven't patched it already. Like, given the
So
amount of chaos play up and high end, I have to
I
wonder
do
why it's
want to
still
kind of
broken.
say, I know if I were to suggest this kind of thing, it would kind of cater towards more casual players, or I guess you could say players who aren't as quick to kind of react in certain
What
projectiles
would
that
that
come in.
be?
But it has to do with the warning indicator that you or that you're going to be seeing, since it does display in the bottom. I really do feel like it should probably be much more opaque and much more larger, or something that kind of will tell the player like, hey, you better watch out because you're gonna get hit. Like, because the player indicator that you see now, it starts getting dimmer and it gets more opaque as the projectile gets closer to you.
Yeah,
But I
that
really
probably
feel
is a
like
good idea.
yeah, I really feel like there should be a way where they can either move that indicator or maybe even kind of increase the size of it or make it seem like it's more of a warning factor. Like you know how they handle shell. Like it'll clearly tell you like, hey, you're gonna get hit by this thing, so you better watch out, kind of thing. I
Hmm.
really feel like if there was something similar to that, or if not, maybe show like the item that's gonna be ahead of you, like what's gonna hit you, kind of like that kind of thing. It would be kind of, or maybe even kind of telling you, hey, which no, never mind, no, not the second thing. I was gonna say it should tell you which lane it'll be on,
Nah.
but then it'll kind of defeat the purpose of it. If not, maybe even have a feature in the game where you can kind of view the back of the screen and see what's behind you. Because
Well,
if
that part is kind of iffy. I think that was suggested, but
Mhm.
that kind of also will take out some of the challenge of the gameplay because people are
Yeah, I
supposed
guess
to
you
have
could
a
say.
way to get to you. And if you're just
Yeah, that's
if you
true.
just know where they are and know how to dodge, then you're basically can just dodge all day unless you get red. Um, so let's start from the top. Fireball.
Okay.
I think that Fireball should have its damage nerfed. Like people, I know like a lot of people from before said that, but it needs its damage nerf for how fast it goes. Like it's very fast, and the startup is great. It should deal like moderate damage at most at max level, but it shouldn't deal like so much damage that you're just gonna stop for I think a good 2 seconds and then just start running again. It's a pretty bad projectile that is easily spammed.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I know, like for me, like I often see characters that have the fireball item. So I
Sonic.
often, yeah, definitely Sonic. Uh, I see Sonic like almost every race,
I
but
know, right?
right. So like I see it easily spammed, especially just it's like that effective. It's so fast and it hits so hard. Like, I mean, if it like most slower projectiles like whirlwind, if that's the right one, or tornado, I always get those two confused. But those don't hit too hard at all. Like they just take like 5 rings and that's really it. But then like fireball, it will hit hard and then it's like pretty powerful for like something that's a lot harder to dodge.
It's like getting hit by a slightly weaker E mine,
Yeah.
and it's kind of bad. So like, people can dodge the startup pretty easily once you get used to it. Um, the next one on the list is explosive mines or E mines. Those need a damage nerf because they stop you dead. You aren't gonna finish the race at a
Right.
good place.
Like an example we could take was the beginning of season 2 when they had you had to be a lot farther from first to get a boost.
Oh
And
yeah.
at that time, if you got hit by E-mine, like it's basically impossible to catch up. But like here, it still like hurts a lot and you'll fall behind. Like it's a lot harder to catch up compared to like other mines. And plus, like mines are kind of easier, more easily spammed, and also a lot easier to hit than a
Hmm.
projectile. So
Oh
because
yeah.
of that, like I mean, at least like you could nerf it because it's just so easy to land anyways.
Yeah, I can see that working. That would
Yeah.
definitely be a good
It
idea.
probably should be. I mean, you can put it at Fireball's damage now to make sense, and reduce the damage on Fireball to moderate, and that would actually keep people in the race, but not too, but wouldn't knock them down too much that they wouldn't be able to recover. Because that's what E mines do currently. They do so much damage that it's very hard to recover.
Yeah, I would agree. Like that's a pretty reasonable nerf. I don't really see any problems with it. And like as long as they do that, like definitely the indicator, if they had the some buff in the warning indicator, that would help like regarding moves like fireball. But otherwise, like definitely a damage nerf would probably be the best way to go in terms of nerfing those two moves,
And
especially.
they should do that with lava bombs as well. But the thing with lava bombs, they're just a single mine. So they could maybe stay at E mine damage as they are now, but could go with the slight damage nerf. Because it takes a bit of skill to actually use lava bombs because you like the easiest way to avoid lava bombs is just keep changing lanes because all it does is on use it spawns right in front of you, and it gets really annoying when you know that person is about to hit a boost and you just lava bomb and then boom, they're dead.
Right. Like Lava Bomb, I haven't had too many problems with it as much, but that's because I constantly do change lanes. But definitely like a skilled Blaze player with or a Metal Sonic that happens to steal it could actually like be really good. Maybe like too good. Uh slight like I think it's damage. I don't know. I haven't had as many problems with that move honestly enough to where I think it definitely needs a nerf. Like if they had to nerf something like but they couldn't nerf anything, that would definitely be something I could just let slide honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, I suppose. Now fire boost, nerf the damage into the ground, please.
Yeah, Fire Boost
Nerf the
could definitely be
damage
nerfed.
into the ground. Make it
Just
fireball
maybe
damage.
just maybe cut the damage in half. Like maybe just cutting that in half. Maybe it'll still be something that's good. Like I don't
Eh,
mind it if it makes you stop, but at least give the player an opportunity to kind of increase their speed at a much quicker time rather than immediately coming into a
the
stop like you're
freaking
getting hit by an
stun
E
is
mine.
the stun's
Yeah.
pretty insane. Um,
Yeah, and like plus it's like really fast too. So like a really fast boost that's also decently long should not be able to do
it's
a
actually
lot
the
of
best.
damage as
It's
well.
the best boost
Yeah.
in the game.
Yeah, it really is.
Then chopper chump. I understand the speed increase because it doesn't land often. Um, but I feel like it shouldn't stop you dead exactly because if it's stopping you dead for so much can actually make you lose the race if you're hit enough
Yeah.
times. So I think they should keep the wind effect and probably make the upgrade be similar to wind trap, where it extends the tornado effect that you get upon hit. and that might make some sense.
I kind of
Cause
find it so interesting about wind boosts is the fact that the previous versions, like when the game barely was like out and Tails was like at their prime with their wind boost, it used to be like the best boost in the game, and it for the longest time was. And I've noticed that now it's kind of one of the most underwhelming boosts that we kind of have in the game,
yeah,
especially if it's in its early states, because you don't really cover that much distance with the boost.
right. We'll get into that in the next section.
Sure.
But continuing, we have lily pads. Now I know like it's on this list, but interactions and their stuff. If somebody know, hello, thank you for the follow, buddy. Anyway, as I was saying, the lily pads and their interactions, which we discussed today,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe fix the frame trap a little. Maybe fix the frame trap a little bit, and probably extend their range further down the track if you're going to use it that way. That's if they get rid of the frame trap, because it still needs to be a usable trap.
Yeah, if they increase the range, then it would kind of defeat the purpose of the trap because they would have to increase the duration of the lily pad trap because as soon as you walk into the lane, like for example, if you're boosting, it does extend the length of it, but you can
Right.
also get hit by it the moment you move into that lane, which is why I kind of
Yeah.
would recommend it not have the length increased because if you're running into it, it will sprout up the moment you actually touch the lane while you're boosting. And then when you're not boosting, once you run past it, then it's going to start to switch its lanes in.
I think it's just one of those things that you have to be watching out for
Yeah.
further down the line and that's getting rid of the frame trap with the lily pads instant.
Yeah, I guess you can say it. I'm still not 100% sure if it's more of an exploit or if it's just something that has to do with the timing of its
I
traps.
think it has to do with the timing of the traps, but that's something we probably need to research a bit more. Um, and then we now next on the list, Ice Wave. This is basically one I always just go on a rant with. Nerf it to the ground. Now the thing is, though, I understand Chaos's kit is all about ice and freezing his opponents, but gosh, the duration of that freeze on Ice Wave is insane. It feels like forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's long.
It's a
I've
good
always had a problem
it's a
with it.
good 7 seconds before you can even
Eight and
move
a
again.
half. 8.5 is pretty crazy. Yeah.
Dang it. Like it no like let's look at freaking ice mines. That lasts like a good 5 seconds or so
Yeah, and it's not
before
that
you
bad.
start. But
It
ice
really isn't
wave,
that
it'll
bad.
stop you dead. It'll keep you going, but the fact that the freeze lasts so long, you're gonna get hit with something else. Or you could get chain
God
frozen.
And and God forbid you get frozen when you're on Red Gate Bay and
Oh
you're
lord.
in that spot where the
That
two
is
lanes will
just
bring you either back or slower or faster. And if you're in that opposite spot and you get frozen, you're not gonna move. That's happened to me before. I believe it or not, I've
uh,
been frozen by a chaos from their ice wave, and I've been on the red section of
you
the
don't
speedway lanes.
move.
You don't move and you're on there for a while, and you can pretty much kiss your chances of winning that match goodbye if you get
I
hit by it.
think what they should do is they pro- considering Ice Wave is also fast, there's a couple ways we can tinker it. One way,
Just give it the same damage as Ice Mine. Like I really don't see the need to change the speed of it, or maybe even an
eh,
audio cue here or there would kind of work. But if they give it
it's
the same
still a little
amount of cooldown
fast.
time,
It's
yeah,
like the startup is faster than Fireball.
yeah,
So I think maybe maybe freeze time. It's 3 lanes too, mind you.
yeah, it's
So
three
I'm
lanes.
thinking like if you were to actually balance this properly, I'd say max level it should last 4 seconds.
4 seconds. That would be slow. That
it's
would
a
be
projectile,
yeah,
and it's 3 lanes. Mean you can mass
yeah.
freeze,
Hmm.
and it's
I guess
fast.
that could work. I guess that could work, but I feel like it should last longer than ice mines, just by 1 second
If
more
it's
for the
gonna
most part.
last longer than ice mines, it's gonna have a different aspect.
Well,
This
here's the thing though. Remember that only one character, technically two, can only use Ice Mine. Like, I mean, Ice Wave. Ice
right?
Mine is more generic, so
Yeah.
there's
Only
that.
yeah, I understand the uniqueness of the character, but it's breaking balance, and it's not a good thing when you have one character breaking balance like that. So there needs to be something done to
Well,
balance this move.
if you really think about balance as a whole, like big lily pads kind of break balance too because of
They
what it can do.
do.
Waves balance on their boost can definitely
There's a
break if you
lot of
don't
balance
with it.
issues right now.
And Jets, Bashosin is one more thing. Like if we're gonna talk about balances, a lot of characters do have
Yeah.
an upper hand with their own thing.
Yeah, but I just feel like Chaos is pretty much the best character in the game right now. Just outright due to for one, the freeze duration. Secondly, his stats are very, very strong. 10 speed, 5 XL, you're basically stronger than freaking Sonic. That's a guarantee for an SR. But you're also competing with Shadow with high strength. Like, that's something else. You shouldn't be stepping on Shadow's toes, I would believe, because Shadow, I believe, is 10. Does he have 9?
He
He
has
has.
9 speed.
I thought he had 10 speed.
He has 10.
I thought he had 10 too.
Oh, let
Yeah.
me take a look.
It should
I
be
think it's
10
10-9
speed.
actually.
I think it's 10.93.
Yeah,
Basically,
I think so too.
but
Yeah, it's
Chaos,
10-9-3.
yeah, is stepping on his toes a good bit. If I liked how this is also going back on what I said about strength.
Mm-hmm.
If strength were to have a effect in this game, then Chaos would be unstoppable.
I seriously feel like I still think it's funny regarding strength. Cream has one more strength than Shadow.
I know, and that's what makes her ridiculous still. Anyway, back on topic. Sorry. Uh, Wrench Rush. I think we talked about that before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, just to reiterate, I think maybe what they should do with the Wrench Rush is I don't think it should be a 3 lane boost because you're trying to break the meta through a boost. It's not exactly a great thing because you're making a meta about one character again. So I know boost isn't as often, but efficient sandbagging can do that. Especially since she has access to E mines and tornado. Just as a tornado being a pressure tool, I believe.
Yeah, like I haven't had a problem. I've met like two waves in a race ever, and it does like it's definitely hit me like every time in the outer lane. Plus, like you can't really dodge it by jumping either,
Yeah,
so
it's
there's that too.
it's
Yeah.
like if she
You
jumped, you
can.
can't beat
Yeah.
it. It's impossible to avoid her if she's jumping. Were you gonna say something, Asterio?
No. I was simply gonna agree with what you were saying, but then you kind of already capitalized
Sorry.
on what I was gonna say. No, you're good. You got it.
Um. Anyway, Bashoshin.
Mm,
We all know where that came from.
Hmm.
right.
Yep.
The damage is. I feel like the damage isn't as bad as before, but
Damage isn't too bad, no.
like they
No.
fixed it better on the damage side, but I feel like the trail needs something done still if we're actually gonna make it useful.
I still think they should just increase the speed on it so players don't run into them more. That's really the best thing that you can do for it. Because if you increase the speed
Hmm.
while the player's in first, they're not going to run into them more from
No,
behind.
Windows. I don't want to update this. Uh, But
What do
yeah,
you what do you think, Ultima, as far as like boosting the speed? And Zadon, what do you think
if
too?
we
Like, do you
boost
think it would be
this,
best?
if we boost the speed, where I want to think if you boost that to
It's an easy projectile to
it
dodge to begin
is
with. If you
well
increase the speed, it'll
the
prevent
back
players from
hit,
running into them.
the
Yeah,
back hit
exactly.
Yeah,
though.
the
If you
back hit.
increase the speed of it, don't change the trail. Just the trail's fine as it is. Increase the speed of it so players don't run into that trail.
Actually, the trail technically isn't fine. There are actually open spots inside the move itself
Yeah,
that don't do anything.
That's only in the beginning of the hit. If you run into it after a second after it's deployed, then you will get hit by the
Actually, no,
entire
that's
trail.
not true either.
if you
I've actually
shield,
like tried.
sorry, Zadon.
Yeah, like a shield also like that. Like I noticed a lot of times, like enter that move, or sometimes even almost the whole duration of it. I use a shield in it, but it never disappears because I never get hit. I never activate its hitbox.
That's
And
because that's because the beginning hurtbox of the projectile itself, beginning hitbox of the projectile itself, is slightly inactive on its first startup, and then as soon as you move in after its hitbox is already completely set out, then you'll get hit by it. I've
Yeah,
noticed that too. Whenever I
yeah,
run in,
it's
I've been
very
able to run into
awkward
projectile.
because I
It's
know
just
I've
because the projectile is inactive for the first second of it, and then it becomes completely active in. I
yeah.
corrected it and tested it out multiple times with the character by running into it, especially testing it by even switching lanes immediately left and right after getting hit by it. So
Mm.
it is more than true. It's definitely a fact.
So yeah, I think we can agree on increasing the speed just like a bit. Probably make it.
Think
Let's
about it.
make it if we can maybe make it Motobug speed because Motobug isn't as fast as Fireball.
Yeah, that'll be perfect because players are going to run into them less. Players are going to have a chance to actually catch up to the character. It it makes sense for the
Yeah.
character to get that speed increase for
That
that
way we don't
projectile.
have this ridiculous back hit issue with the
That's
trail.
that's all that I was trying to say to prevent that from being a thing. Prevent
Right.
getting hit by the back end of the hitbox just by increasing the speed of it.
Yep. Anyway, so second segment, things that think we could use that I think that could use some change. Lightning. How useful is it?
it's not. Well,
It's
here's the
useful when you're in a single lane and trapped in. Definitely useful.
right. For
Obviously.
example, Pinnacle Peaks at the end has that one boost pad that almost anyone will take. If you time it right, it's like almost a guaranteed hit if they stay in that lane.
Yeah, it's
Like,
ridiculous.
but it's not. Then again, it's not. It doesn't have too much stopping power. So unless you're close to the player, you're not going to get ahead of them either way. So it like, for example, if you compare the damage with lightning and storm clouds, lightning, you think about it, is a lot harder to hit, but it doesn't even do as much damage as the storm cloud.
So, like, my brain's been trying to run a few things on Lightning on how it can be better. Like, I've thought about maybe making the lightning projectile similar to Thundercloud, and that it just holds 3 lanes. But no,
Or just make it activate quicker.
uh, I think that's what they tried to nerf about. Because I think in earlier builds it was instant or something.
No, in earlier builds, it was undodgeable. You can still see the timing of it. You'll still get hit by it no matter which lane you were on. That's what they
Yeah.
Right.
fixed. But I feel like
So
I feel like by upgrading it, or like as you upgrade the item later on, it activates quicker, and it increases the effectiveness of the attack. I feel like it would actually be better that way. That way, characters can start using lightning more, rather than just being able to easily dodge them.
There's a problem though with like if you use a double jolt, that gives you a lot less time.
oh yeah,
You gotta think about
definitely.
Yeah.
that.
That's like I understand lightning spam as a pressure tool, but it's not really a pressure tool considering it takes like 3 seconds to come out. It needs like you have to double lightning on the same lane to even get the same type of pressure as like say 1 second
Just
lightning.
make it activate quicker. I really feel like that would be best for the projectile. Really would be easy that way. That way it'll prevent characters from going through issues by even just
Right.
switching lanes and it being fine. Just I feel like they just decrease the amount of timing it takes for it to come in, it'd be best for the good time.
Maybe I want to put it at maybe 1.5 to 1 second at best, considering
Yeah.
it's a single projectile. Because its main purpose is pressure, because it spawns
Yeah.
right on you.
Hmm.
Now, the next one is Bubble Bomb. Now, uh, so let's talk about Bubble Bomb. Who likes popping bubbles?
Yeah, that's
I
fun.
do. It's like really easy to do.
I know, but the thing is, I know it stops boosts, but
Which is pretty neat.
it's not really that strong at high level.
Well, it's good for like preventing players from using items to catch up to you. That's one
True.
pretty neat thing that it can do.
Unless you're
Um,
Zaz with the mine and then you just get it. Unless it
I don't.
stops his mines, does it?
I really don't think that it should be kind of changed. I feel like it's good the way it is. Um, I think it's nice the fact that they increase, or if anything, just increase the amount of bubbles on the screen.
They
Or
already
make
did
them
that.
spread out, or not increase the bubbles, but make them spread out more. Or cater more towards the items. Make it so you can't use items because that's pretty much what it's kind of technically used for, and
Yeah.
obstruct the vision of higher level players.
Yeah, that probably. I noticed that there was a good amount of bubbles around the item
Yeah.
boxes.
So
So I
I
guess
mean,
that's one thing that
yeah.
I
So
forgot about.
I
so
think it
some
needs to have like very minor stopping power because it does like it's not really gonna help you, especially with
Wow.
Vector.
yeah. Well,
Like he'll
no. Well, okay. I do want to add on to that because some players are saying are suggesting that it should have to do with slowing down the character. But think about what Vector's stats are. Vector's a pretty fast character and has really good
He's
acceleration.
also a
Not to
little
mention,
tanky.
yeah, that not to mention that he has fireballs and he has invincibility too. Those fireballs can definitely be used to stack towards bubble bombs. Or I feel like it's a good item as it is.
Mm.
Any if there's any projectile that needs the ability to kind of decrease a player's speed is illusion mine. That's a definite fact.
Well, I mean, Bubble Bomb, I understand like trying to prevent them from using items, but they can just mash this freaking screen for all I care.
Mhm.
Uh, Generally, having s- like slight stopping power on Bubble Bomb will make some sense. Well, not stopping power, but just deceleration. Leave it at that, because adding a bit of deceleration to the Bubble Bomb would help it actually be viable at higher level compared to what it is now. Because I know that actually was good a little bit with the bubbles, but take it as you will. This is just me thinking on it.
Okay,
Um,
let's see where you're coming from on that.
yeah. Now, onto your thing about illusion mines. I do agree that they do need stopping power because you're supposed. The only effect that illusion has right now is it just flips your screen, and most high level players don't care about that. It has stopping power on boost at least, but maybe they should consider.
Or maybe not that, but I noticed that there was a suggestion that a player made in the official server to add
Was
fake
that in the idea
projectiles.
box?
Yeah, I don't know if it's an idea box, but I do know it's in the official server.
Who
Someone
pinged me?
said that they should add fake projectiles like they do in the official Sonic Forces game, where there'll be projectiles that do spawn in if you get hit by them, but there's still active hitbox that you just have to dodge. Just some extra projectiles to dodge, or things that'll kind of obstruct the field of view for the player with the backwards with a backwards motion. Because I feel like that would be a definite good way to kind of add on and capitalize to that effect. Maybe not more so like increasing speed, but just adding extra projectiles, and those can actually affect how the player has to play through while they're getting illusion mind.
I've thought about
Holy
that. Like
crap! I just noticed something. They're actually talking in SFSB chat on the official Discord and not the Twitch chat. I've been looking at the wrong thing this whole time.
Uh,
Oh my
All right.
god.
So, going back to the illusion mine about the projectile stuff.
mhm.
Honestly, I've thought about this a while. Like adding any extra thing is just gonna be a lot harder on
Yeah.
the game itself,
The balance.
especially projectiles, since it would probably be like a moving thing. Like some people have said like extra like illusion obstacles and stuff, but like
Eh,
I mean that's kind of just hard to do, and like it's just tougher on the game itself.
yeah. But I do know, despite Espio's current stats, he's not very good.
Yeah, he's probably like one of the work basically like probably the
He's
one of the
above
least effective.
silver, but below someone like Amy.
Right.
Um, I think that Espio, like, if we buff illusion, if we change illusion to, I think illusion should cause like you lose half your speed. It doesn't fully stop you like Chow NATO does, but you lose half your speed with illusion and the duration of
Mm.
illusion. Um, maybe for duration of illusion, you can't regain that speed unless you hit like a dash pad or something. That's just a thought because it does need something to actually make it useful. Because illusion right now is one of the it's one of the least useful things in the game.
Hmm.
What do you
It's
guys think?
it's kind of in the right direction, I think. Um, Here's the thing though, I've versed like max level SBOs before while I'm playing Rouge, and they tend to like I always see them like they tend to still get ahead of me. And like that illusion mine, if they had that specific buff, it might actually be a little too effective just by a
Hmm,
little bit. Like, I mean, it's in the right track. Like, it definitely could use that kind of buff, but it's just like that might be a little too much. I think because like I
maybe.
definitely see like yeah, my
I can see it because I know that freaking Chow NATO it just stops you and it forces you to accelerate from zero. But
Hmm.
illusion might, if we could take this in the right direction, could like maybe maybe add the same deceleration effect as what we suggested for bubble bomb. I guess like it could just be like a 20% it's temporary deceleration, and you just have to accelerate back to it again. Maybe
Hmm.
it's gotta have something, but
I'd
that could be.
rather it stick true to the canon of the games, though. I really feel like
Mhm.
the point, because what is the point of Illusion Mine to begin with in the official game? Like, what is it? What did Infinite do when he actually used? Like, what was the effect of the Illusion Mine?
I don't know because I never played Sonic Forces.
So in Sonic Forces, when you're playing against Infinite and you get hit by his illusion mines, he starts spawning in fake obstacles that you have to dodge in that you normally wouldn't have to dodge if you weren't hit by them. That's why I was suggesting it to be a
That
thing
was
if you
it.
get hit by them, because it makes sense and it's also canonically correct to the character with the attack.
That makes
So I don't
sense.
so I don't think it should decrease the speed of a player, although it would be a nice addition to it. But I feel like it would make much more sense if they were projectiles that the character had to dodge, along with the real projectiles that are in when running. And it would
Okay.
make much more sense rather than just reversing the controls. They can even keep the reverse controls. It would still make sense. It would honestly it would spark a much better reason to use Silver and Espio and possibly Infinite if that's one of the moves that he gets in later on if the game
We
does
don't even know
decide.
if they're gonna add infinite.
Yeah, but just I'm providing that as an example if hypothetically if he were in a character. But
Yeah.
the main important thing are the two characters that have the attack, which is Espio and Silver.
Yeah. So I suppose, yeah, you could work with that. But that can be another discussion at a different time, I suppose. We'll just keep this on note for later.
Okay.
Um, so let me look through here. What was the next one? Next one was Electro Boost. How fast is it again?
It's a pretty decent speed. I still feel like they should increase the length of Electro Boost, just because collecting
Yeah, but
rings, the
the
whole
other.
ring thing is pretty neat,
Hmm.
but the speed is fine. It just doesn't last that long. It's the only thing.
I think they do that to prevent you from like getting 100 free rings and then just go from 0 to
Yeah.
100 again.
Yeah, but it would
Um,
make sense if 100 rings actually proved to be effective in catching up to characters, which it does. But
hmm
if you get a boost, that means you're pretty far away from the other players. So
yeah, but
that's
Electro
just my
Boost
input on
doesn't
it.
go too fast either.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
It's one of the weaker boosts, even though it is a damage boost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, probably should. I wouldn't mind a slight speed increase on it, in all
That'd be
honesty,
fine.
because it does feel too much on the slow spot side, especially for something like Metal Sonic, who abuses it a lot, along with Steel. I just
Yeah.
feel like it could use a slight buff in that matter. Um, invincibility. Uh, Same thing as Electro Boost, except like you're just invincible.
Yeah.
Uh,
Invincibility is fine. Maybe a slight increase in speed could work.
it's the
Its
same
duration is
thing
just
as
fine.
I
Yeah.
said for Electro
Yeah.
Boost. Just a slight increase in speed to make it
Yeah.
actually matter against other boosts.
Yeah.
Um, Motobug is the last one. Yeah. For Motobug, I was thinking at first impressions when I actually started playing him, I thought, oh, this is actually okay. But when I actually got starting playing Classic at level 13, I started to see some differences at high level. Um,
Motobug should make you stop, walk, and run when you get hit by it. I really feel like that would be best, considering
mm,
Electro Boost has that same effect too, and it's pretty effective. It really, really is. One, it takes your item. Two, you stop temporarily, walk, then run, but your running acceleration is pretty fast. So I feel like it should be the same way with Motobug, because when you get hit by Motobug, you stop and you're immediately back at your full speed.
good point. It should be similar to Thundercloud in that
Yeah.
effect, I suppose.
Maybe not necessarily Thundercloud since it's really
Similar.
effective, but like just like
'Cause it's just a stun. It
yeah.
makes you stop, and then you're
Yeah,
good.
the stun is perfect timing. It has really good timing, but I feel like you walk then run when you're getting hit by it. It would make more sense since it would
Yeah.
provide a much better effective use of the projectile, since it's one of the most underwhelming projectiles aside from its key component, which is to take items from opponents, which can be really useful if you take a boost from someone.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Uh, but the other thing that I've been thinking about, and this has been in the back of my mind for a while,
Hmm.
was the leaderboards. We've been
How so?
here for 4 seasons now. This is our fourth
Hmm.
season, and it feels like nothing's changed in regards to just how things have gone. I know people play a lot to actually get this, and I think when Zadon rejoins us in a few minutes,
Hmm.
he should be able to shed some light on this because it's it's just something I feel like needs some change
Mm.
here and there.
Okay,
Because
how can you change a leaderboard though? Like, go in detail on how you can change it.
well, how you can change a leaderboard, it can be characters, it can be just how the system is. Like trophy system, it's fine for right now. Aside from like some robberies, but hey, those happen
Hmm.
sometimes. Uh I think that the it's usually the P level system. that I
Okay.
think is causing this static in the leaderboards, because we get patched every we get patched usually what, every couple weeks or
Ev-
so.
Every month, per
Every
se.
Yeah, around every month. uh I feel like every time we get a new character, and the rate of new characters is not really proportionate to the rate we get cards, because we know all cards are all random,
Yeah, I agree. That
and it
would make
causes
sense.
the P level disparity, which I talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
And that P level disparity causes the leaderboards to be like they are. Now, I know what you might say. Oh, I can play this at P level 13 and get the T10 just fine. And I completely understand that. And people can have skill
Mm-hmm.
and be very skilled at it. I mean, look at Emperor. He actually did, I believe, he did P level 8 last season, and he got to
Mm-hmm.
tier 9 and almost tier 10. I don't know if he got to T10, but he got pretty high with just a P level 8. And honestly, I it's mainly the problem with P level is if you have a difference of at least 2, you're going to have a difficult time trying to become first and actually get trophies at high
Okay.
level. And that usually just ties into how ring speed does with P level. You see why I'm going?
Yeah, I do.
So I I brought this topic here so that I could try and at least spark discussion with this,
Hmm.
but I'm not trying to like antagonize the whole system or people who actually play the game very, very well. I just want to see like something happen to where I might see more people with, like, say maybe lower P level hit the higher points of the leaderboards, or even top 10 for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now P level matters to everybody, and it's usually the determining factor on whether you win or lose a race, unless like items come into play.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think, Asterio? Because that was the that was what that was just those were just my thoughts on it, and I want
Mm,
to see what can be done. It's
well,
it's
what
complicated. I know.
what can there be done regarding the player level system, since you're really just getting an interval increase speed by zero point 0.1, and of course, like you just said, items do come into play, and of course boosts do as well, which is why certain players can usually beat higher level players than them too. So I
Right.
I honestly can't say I know the answer to how things can be changed with player level. I just feel like there should be a catering system to getting cards for other players so they can essentially get to that higher level quicker.
No,
That way it'll end up phasing
I
out
just
the player level
remembered something
system.
important.
Hmm. What's up?
Look at the idea box, and let's look at. I believe it was posted very recently, because I read this. Let me find it. It was number 908 by whoever this guy is screaming.
Daily
Uh,
check-ins?
yes. The like, this is a trend I see in almost every competitive mobile game. There are daily check-ins,
Mm-hmm.
and like the daily check-ins, they give you rewards for checking in every day. And I know they did stuff with the daily chests, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of mellow in terms of daily, because it's every 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if we outs outside of like the 3 hour chests, which only give you what, like 800 to 2,000 rings, depending on how lucky you are,
Yeah.
along with like possible possible rares, and mostly commons.
Mhm.
Like the daily chests are good for everybody, and they also give you free red rings.
Yeah.
But honestly, playing out a daily check-in takes some thought on the dev team because they have to consider the rate of progression.
Mm.
And if the rate of progression is too rapid, we run into problems at high level. So it's like I said, I think last stream, that the rate of
Mhm.
progression was not. There was like once you get to P level 11, your rate of progression slows down a lot because
Yeah.
of the amount of experience required. So adding in these check-in rewards, and this can be left up for the dev team to decide on what those rewards should be.
Mhm.
Having this will actually it'll get people to check in every day. It keeps them hooked
If anything,
because
weekly check-ins could be perfect. Like maybe
yes,
character of the week. Like if you check in for 7 days, you'll get this super rare character. And like maybe like the first 2 or 3 days you get a common, and then 4 to 6 is like rare, and then 7 would be the super rare character. Like that could totally work. I can
yeah,
totally see it.
that actually works in a sense. Um, though I would not mind there being a monthly calendar for what you could get
Hmm.
because, like, take for instance, let's see, what's a good example? The current game I'm. Let's take for instance the game I'm currently playing here and there. And I've seen it pop up on the ads. Star
Hmm.
Ocean and Amnesis. I've looked. I know it's an RPG, but compared to this game, I mean, I know you can't make comparisons except through like what they actually do with their rewards.
Hmm.
The progression rate in Anamnesis with the day rewards, it keeps you wanting to come back because oh,
One thing.
mhm,
Sorry. Go ahead.
you might actually be working towards this at the end of the month
Hmm.
or something else, It's
Yeah.
just that it's just that rate of progression and continuous progression is vital for this game to succeed.
Yeah. Something that I feel like could be really cool and really neat. You know how in Sonic Dash, like the original Sonic Dash game, they have that little roulette?
Hmm, the
That could be a
roulette.
perfect little thing that they can do to kind of, you know what a roulette is, right?
Yes, I know
It's
what roulette
circle.
is.
So they can essentially put a roulette in like the daily things. Like it'll be something that you can use on there. You can spend maybe 100 red rings and you can do a spin. Maybe it could be
Hmm.
commons. Maybe it'll show the character of which one that's on there, and it'll change based on like the super rare. Like it'll be a super rare that'll have like maybe 100 super rare cards, and the rest of them could be like scattered with commons or rares.
You're gonna
And then
have
the big one, yeah,
the dev team would probably have to decide the rates for
yeah,
the most part.
definitely would have to do the raids. But I mean, that could be a perfect thing that they can do. I mean,
It
Sonic Dash
can,
did it. They can definitely implement that on there
but
since they've clearly been capable of doing that in. It could be something that could work
one of
if
the
they really.
weird one of the weird things when it comes to like roulettes is that usually you can tell if it's set to something or not, depending on how it spins. But I feel like I feel like the roulette could just like don't I want to make it a daily thing. I'd rather use it for
Okay.
I'm not gonna say red rings because premium currency for that would be pretty bad. Um, probably probably rings would be the best answer. Like if you're really
Yeah.
trying for something and you're already done with your battle chest for a day, you're 25. You could
Hmm.
actually spend like if you have excess rings and you still need cards, you can spend those extra rings on the freaking roulette. Like it can be a number that the devs can decide on.
Hmm.
and you get to spin that wheel how many times. But I think they could probably limit it to twice a day just to be safe. Oh, and this can go alongside the daily check-in.
Hmm.
But I'm trying not to like think too much on it because
Yeah.
again the threat of rapid progression making the
Hmm.
game stale. So it's just something that needs to be discussed for on the dev team side and just they can decide what to do with it.
I see.
But
Yeah,
this
that can
is
definitely
just
be
an
something to leave
idea
in. Hmm.
for them to throw around. Go ahead, Esther. I'm sorry for
Oh no, no,
interrupting.
was simply going to agree with you on that. I definitely believe that that could be something that they can look into, kind of take into consideration, based on everything that we've discussed up until this point so far.
Yep.
Should definitely be something taken in there, and hopefully that our message is heard and responded from the community to them, and maybe they'll find what we're saying is something that could work. I mean, because they can always experiment things on the game. Like there's always
Yeah.
changes that they can make, and it's clearly been obvious that Hardlight's been doing that. They experimented on seeing how things would work if they increased the length of getting a boost and how long it would take. And they
Yeah.
noticed that a lot of players didn't like it, so they scrapped it and put it back to their original roots where they
Mhm.
gave you a boost at a reasonable pace.
That's on a
They confirmed,
mechanical level.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
at
mean,
least
they're
fixing the main mechanics is a good thing. Now,
yeah,
what I would
and I
like
mean,
next for them is to fix the balance if they can. But
I mean, then again, balancing in general is a really difficult
it
and
is.
kind of taboo subject to take in because of the wide variety of characters and items and uses that they have on there. So, if anything, they would have to initially tweak every single character in rather than
Right.
specifically tweaking in one character in, since there's a lot that needs to
Well,
change at the beginning.
generally they could take it a little at a time because I've seen
Yeah.
some games like filter in their balance changes in a progression based manner along with like their character additions.
Mhm.
So maybe like like let's say next patch they might try to see how the changes with chaos go. Like they nerf
Mhm.
chaos and see how ice wave changes go. And something happens and and it turns out this is actually causing problems with chaos's gameplay, like to the point where he's not as usable. Well, not usable.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just it is experimenting whenever it comes to this to balance. I know it's taboo sometimes, but there's
Okay.
there's just a lot of blatant things right now they should look at.
Yeah.
Because
Well.
I would believe that they are collect like through like all the data on Speedbow goes to their data center or their not data center whatever they collect data in, and I want to think they at least look at the data
Yeah.
to an extent. But what I think would be great is if they looked at the data that's from T9 to T10 because that's where all the high end players
Mhm.
are and where they're trying to win, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you get the data from there, you can see actual you can see pretty much what people are doing because
Mhm.
I don't think they have replays. Just
But
have the win rates.
what would be the point of doing all of that in? What exactly would you see an entailed change for?
Say that again. Cut out slightly.
My bad. But why is it necessary though to be able to look at all of those things? What could there be that can change? Like what can entail on that?
Well, for one, it actually can make the game more enjoy. Like you know how people always go ranting on about chaos,
Yeah.
and like it's just one of those things in the game that just doesn't feel enjoyable. And like I'm not bashing Hard Light for what they're doing or whatever development they do. I like what they do with this game, but there's just some things that I just have issues with, and I'm willing to accept whatever they had to say about it. But
Okay. All right.
like this is just my own opinion. Doesn't reflect the Chao News Network in regards to just how they could go about it. But again, that's also time to be invested in money. And it's a business at the end of the day.
All right. Well, putting all of that aside, I feel like we've had enough time to kind of discuss all of our topics that are in. Is there anything else that we can kind of sort of add on, or any closing comments that we can make to kind of display what we've already discussed?
Um, I do want to say that I'm looking forward to our next to how the season turns out, as well as
Mhm.
like character usage, because
Yeah, definitely.
I
Because I'm
want
seeing.
like there are starting to be some rares starting to creep up there into
Mhm,
tier 10, and it's
mhm.
gonna be interesting how the interactions go.
Yeah, it's nice to see how diverse the amount of characters that are being implemented in now towards the higher leaderboards, considering the first tiers were just completely Sonics. Now you're seeing a lot of different characters, and you're seeing Tails, Blaze, you're seeing Vector. Well, I mean, you've still seen Vector from the Detector, but still, like, you're seeing a lot of
Vector
more
Detector is
diverse.
amazing.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of diverse like plays from newer characters, and you're kind of starting to
Yeah.
see their own metas kind of come into place, like with Jet's projectiles, Big's lily
Like
pads,
we're
like all those
we're
kind of
we're
things.
going to the point where we're actually including the rares in the high end.
Yeah,
Because
which
they're
is
getting to
really
peak,
nice.
they're getting to level 14, level 16, which is where their peak is compared to the SRs. Now the SRs, they've actually grown some too. Like Metal Sonic, he's probably like most of the SRs aside from Zaz, who's been newly added recently.
Hmm.
Um, they're probably around like level 12 or so, considering the amount of cards you need.
Yeah.
And the rares should be around 16. They should be 16, if not 14. At least just as an estimate.
Okay. All right then. Well, I feel like, yeah, that could definitely be something that definitely take into consideration. But yeah, are there any? Is there anything else that we can kind of discuss, or any other closing notes? Is there anything that you want to tell the community from your own wit on the game?
Well, all I can say is this can be an enjoyable game, and it
Hmm.
is to an extent. But there is improvement to be done, and I'll let
Yes.
Hardlight deal with that. Just
Alrighty. Well then.
any any feedback from the people should be taken into consideration in regards to like how track layout, for instance. I think that's been what the community has been wanting lately, just better track layout.
Yeah. All right. Well then, since we've pretty much discussed all of our topics, then considering we do have different topics that we will be discussing over the next course of our stream, I feel like be good to go. Then that's pretty much everything we've discussed.
Yep,
We already
it
have our
has been.
closing notes, and yeah.
So
So I guess like the rest of everything else to the community, and kind of see what else they think, if they have any other
yeah,
special opinions that they kind of want
if
to jot out.
if you
But
guys have like any if you have any questions, any feedback for this stream, like any feedback is appreciated because I'm wanting to continually this improve this stream and make it a I want to make it a good stream for everybody to listen to, and so that we can get the information out there. So, thank you for watching Chao News Network, and we will see you next time. I will post the next date and hashtag media content on the official Discord. So, make sure to keep an eye there, and I will see everybody later. So,
alrighty,
have
have
a
a
good
great one,
night.
everyone.
All right, see you guys. Even though I joined like last minute.
Say it on. All right. Later.